Hello, hello. I'm going to share this real quick. And then I have just a couple things to say. Because the Lord's only released me to say a little bit. More to come. One second. Let's see. Hi, Tim. I'm just sharing this a couple places. Hi, David. Okay. So, hello, everybody. Oh, wait. I'm still trying to share this real quick and got sidetracked. Okay. So, I'm going to move the comments so I'm not distracted because I can get distracted easily. But it's been no secret when I've shared my story or my testimony that, you know, as a child, I went through Satanic Ritual Abuse, monarch mind control. You know, my father used hypnosis. He used stun guns, all kinds of stuff. And he hid behind God. And he, took me and had blood sacrifices done over me. And then the more healing, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure it's shared on my computer. And then the more healing that I've had, and then through writing my book, there was more that was exposed. And then I even have emails from my father that I didn't understand back then because I was still under his control. He was my handler. But then, now that I'm free from all that and God has done some healing and revealing and all that kind of stuff, now I look back at those very emails and I'm just like, oh my goodness, just the craziness that is spoken of in those emails and just how I had no clue. And to me, it was completely normal conversations. But now looking back, it was far from normal. So through this journey that I've been on, this past a little over a year, God has really just revealed more and more to me about my past. When you go through MkUltra, monarch mind control, ritual abuse, whatever you want to call it, Illuminati, Freemasonry, all of it is tied together. It's basically people who are Luciferians. They worship Lucifer. And when you go through that, you are put under extreme torture so that you disassociate and you don't remember things. That's the purpose of my father hypnotizing me, was to hide things and to implant things into my mind. And even not too long ago, I thought, because I've been to EMDR therapy and so on, and I've been to a lot of inner healing and deliverance. And my one EMDR therapist, she couldn't take me any further. She was new and she wasn't experienced enough to take me further. And so at one point I was like, well, maybe if I could find someone I could trust, I'll just go to somebody who is a therapist who does hypnosis, and maybe they can unlock some of the memories that are still locked away, or complete like time periods of my life that are gone. But as I started doing some research, I realized that hypnosis does not bring anything out. It is strictly used to place things in your mind. Thank you, Rick. Or to, place things in your mind, have you forget things, and so on. So, and I've been praying and I've had a lot to say, but God has not fully released me to say all that I want to say. But due to some stuff that happened today with my publisher, so I published a book back in November of 2017. And let me tell you, when that book was released on November 30th, all hell broke loose, like all hell. Let's see, December 21st of 2017, I was leaving outreach. That morning, I was at a city council meeting trying to get an old bathhouse ordinance passed. And I had these two ladies who waited for me downstairs and said that they felt they needed to pray for me because there was a major attack that they felt was coming my way to take me out. That very night, leaving outreach, it was dark and I went to go and turn my wheel because a person came out in front of my car. I ended up crashing into a phone pole, like a utility pole, and if it would have been 2 inches to the left, I would be decapitated. And through that whole scenario, I was taken in for a DUI, which I did not have. I'm still fighting that case. I just wasn't, they gave me a refusal to blow, and I wasn't able to blow because I had a collapsed lung. So to tell you that there has not been one major attack since releasing my story and starting to blow the whistle on the elite would be an understatement. And then I would say August of last year, of 2018, I actually got a phone call from some people who do a radio show, and they first do it, I believe it's called Awake the Nations. Sorry, y'all, I don't know the name right off, but they did a live Facebook radio interview where it was live on Facebook, and then a couple months later it ended up airing on I think it was 29 or 30 radio stations across the United States and Canada. And this was the first time that they let me just tell it all. Like I mean, because my book doesn't even tell it all. But they let me tell it all, from the blood sacrifices that were made over me to just all kinds of stuff, exposing the elite and what I had known, and just my family line, my family ancestors that I found out once I had a DNA test done. And they let me expose it all. And so once that was done, the attacks were even bigger. But some of it God's not going to let me go into yet. So with my book being published, I went with a publisher that I trusted. They were supposed to be a Christian publisher, and needless to say, it was published November 30th of 2017. I have never seen one red penny from my book. They basically hijacked it. They were sent a demand letter by an attorney, and they basically didn't respond to the demand letter. After a year passed, long story short, because I did a live earlier, I realized that they had voided the contract, so I'm able to, put a new cover up. Oh, yeah, hello, publisher. That book right there will be going up for sale soon. And so I was able to, get it. I actually have somebody working on the final cover, and I will put my book up for sale, and I will have, I'll make the money off of it. I'll have control of it. I'll be able to take it on to my events. I'll be able to do whatever I want with it. And I'll be able to write a book number 2 that's going to expose a lot more. And it's actually going to be called The Year That Made Me Go, which is going to have a whole lot more information in it about just the mind control, MkUltra, Illuminati, and all of that. So today, as I am minding my own business, I get an email from the publisher telling me that they have placed, let's see, what was the word they called it? The subject line was injunctive relief, basically trying to tell me that I did not have rights to my book, and that if I proceeded to go any further or do anything, that they would, get all the money, do whatever they're going to do. And I'm like, wow. Like, for starters, I'm not using the cover that you use. Secondly, it's my story. Third, I'm not like some big, New York Times bestseller. So why are you trying so hard to keep my book? You're not even distributing it anymore on Amazon. And so I was praying about it, and then I was talking to somebody, and it's like, this is much bigger than the earthly realm. And so I think a lot of people, like a lot happens in my life, and I think sometimes people are like, okay, Krista, here we go again. But I can guarantee you that none of what I talk about is conspiracy. It is just all factual. Unfortunately, it is things that are happening in my life. And as far as like the attacks that come my way, it's not just me. It's anybody who starts to blow the whistle on the elite. So when you start blowing the whistles, there is something called gang-stalking that happens. And they will come at you in any way that they can because you are awake to what they've done and they do not want their secrets exposed. And so obviously I've been exposing their secrets for a little over a year, did it in a book, have done it on radio interviews, have done it in public speaking. And now on the, as I'm getting ready to release my book again and write another one, the attacks are getting larger. And yeah, so just like the Bible says, because this is the thing about my publisher is supposed to be a Christian publishing company. That's not very Christ-like. And, you know, just like the Bible says, if anyone tries to flag you down, calling out, here's the Messiah, or points, there he is, don't fall for it. Fake messiahs and lying preachers are going to pop up everywhere. Their impressive credentials and dazzling performances will pull the wool over the eyes of even those who ought to know better. But I've given you fair warning. And then there are other places in the Bible where it speaks of, wolves in sheep's clothing. So this today is about waking up. Waking up. There is so much ritual abuse and mind control that goes on within the churches. And I'm not speaking of one church in particular, but within like the organized churches, that is where a lot of it happens. And then, so wake up to that. And I'm going to share a little something with you right now. Because I just want you to know, like, how real this is. Like, so recently, like, I knew that my mom's side of the family were all Freemasons, and all of my, like, the men were, and then the women were Eastern Stars. But I didn't, and I knew it went way back, like generation to generation, but I didn't realize just how close to me it was. And I ended up getting some old pictures that were my grandma's, and I'm just going to show this to you. And this right here is probably pictures I'm not supposed to have, but it says Robert Burns, and it says, if I can read, first poet, anyways, it's the Smith collection of Burnsiana, collected and donated by W.W.R. Smith, 32-degree Mason of Washington, D.C. So I see this, and I already knew they were Masons, but like there's all these pictures coming up. Well, then I'm going to cover the face just out of respect for the family because yeah. So then I see this picture, and this is inside one of, this is actually, come to find out, the main Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C., the main one. Yeah, there's a lot to go with this. I've been in Washington, D.C. twice in the past few months, and yeah, we won't even go there. But anyways, the person that I am covering up is my great uncle. A 32-degree Mason, not that far off, is my mom's uncle, which makes it my great uncle. This is another picture from inside this, the Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C., that I'm probably not supposed to have. But this is another one that my immediate family has been a part of. And just on my mom's side, this isn't even getting into my dad's side, who, yeah, is a whole nother story in itself. This is another picture from inside the lodge. And if you look real closely, that shows you that it says on there as well that it's a 32-degree. And this is another picture from inside one of their secret little rooms. And as always, they have an altar in the middle. This is another picture, must be where they have a kitchen area or whatever from, or maybe that's where they do the sacrifices with the babies and all that, because they do that, y'all, right here. Then I am going to cover this because I don't, my mom hasn't given me permission to show the family, although she knows that I have the pictures and all that, but out of respect. This is another picture of one of the parts of that lodge, and all of these people that I'm covering up are immediate family members. This is one of my relatives' burial. He was a high Mason and had a Masonic burial. And if you look really closely, you can see all of the Mason symbols. Another picture where you can see a little closer. And we have another and then this is also a Mason, Freemasonry symbol. And you wouldn't be able to tell who this relative is anyways, but pretty old picture. He goes way back, one of my relatives from my mom's side. So they were all Freemasons, and they weren't just Freemasons. They were up there in the, at least I know, I think the highest degree is supposedly a 33, but they were 32 degree Freemasons, and they were as far back as my generation as I've taken it on Ancestry and so on, and as early back as my great uncle, my mom's uncle. Now, I show all that to tell you the struggle is real. The struggle is real. You cannot start blowing the whistle on these high up people, telling their secrets, not only telling their secrets, but sharing the abuse that you went through at the hands of them, and that my mom went through at the hands of them. You can't do that and think that they don't know who you are, where you are, and what you're saying, and that they're not going to try and shut you up at all cost. But thankfully, I know who my papa is, and he is bigger, and I feel like this. I have already went through such hell on earth as a child and as an adult, and I have seen stuff that most just would think that's just in your like worst nightmares or your worst horror movie, but I have seen it, and it's real. And so I feel like this: I have lived it, I have survived it, I have thrived from it and overcome it. I didn't thrive from that, but I'm thriving because I know who my father is, and he is bigger, and I have allowed him to break in and heal me, and I have come against all those things that were spoken over me, that I would be a server of man and a bride of Satan, and all of those things that my family did to me. And I take the promises from God that I am a daughter of the King. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am the head and not the tail, and no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So I'm going to keep telling. I'm going to keep blowing that whistle. So no publisher that is hiding like a wolf in sheep's clothing is going to stop me from going forward with my book, because a little bit of a secret for you, publisher. With all that I just shared and all that I have coming at me, do you think for 1 second that I would have gone forward with getting my book back out in print under my name if I hadn't already had an attorney, or more than one attorney, thoroughly look over the contract and know that I wasn't doing anything that I wasn't legally able to do? Because if you thought that I wouldn't do that, you were sadly mistaken. But then again, there's been so much more come out since the book that you published and never gave me a penny of, and took 3/4 of my book away. So anyways, yeah, I just wanted to let y'all all know it's real. And it's not just happening to me. I have many, many friends who are survivor sisters or survivor brothers of, MkUltra, MindControl, monarch mind control, ritual abuse. And many of them go through the same thing, the gang-stalking, the attacks. And another thing that they do is they try and do shame campaigns. So, go figure, I ended up with a DUI charge and in jail a little over a year ago after I started to expose them. But I didn't even, it's not even a legit charge that I'm still fighting, that I go to trial for next week. So they will try and do a shame campaign, because when you do continue to speak out, they want you to think that I'm not credible. Look at me. I've done this and I've done that. Or, oh, look at her. She used to be a prostitute, or she was this. They want to try and make you think that I'm crazy. And because that's another thing they do. They literally will try and make people think that the person who's blowing the whistle is crazy. Because a lot of what I tell you, I'm sure you are like, this sounds crazy, because it sounds crazy to me sometimes, but I'm the one living it and the one who goes through it. So I don't care. Either you can listen to me and you can believe me, or you don't have to believe me. But rest assured that all of this is very real. We are living in a very serious time. And when you start to speak out, the attacks are real. So, and I just want to say this too. And there was a model recently who was about to expose, well, she had been whistleblowing on a guy, I can't think of the name right now, but he is close friends with Pope Francis, and he has a human trafficking organization in another country, Argentina or something like that, and he's actually a trafficker, and she was exposing that. Well, a year ago, she had posted on Twitter that, she was getting death threats after she started publicly exposing that, and she used to be in adult films and a prostitute, so of course that must have made her not credible, right? Please. No little girl dreams of growing up and being sexually exploited. Something goes terribly wrong along the way. So that doesn't devalue her or decredit her story. So she put a post out and she said, just know that I will never commit suicide. I won't have a drug overdose. I won't put a gun to my head. She said all these different things. And she said, please save this tweet. In the month of February, 2 days before she was going to go and testify in court about this guy, she was found dead, and they said her heart exploded and that there were traces of cocaine in her nose. No, that's not the case. They outed her and they got rid of her because she was exposing, people who were very close to Pope Francis. And that's what they do. So I will end it on this. And I'm not saying this is how, this will happen or not. But just know, y'all, if anything ever happened to me, I'm not going to put a gun to my head. I am not going to kill myself. And I know this might sound strange to you, but I'm going to say it and I'll explain it later because God isn't allowing me to fully explain it right now. I haven't been to any third world country to get some strange parasite. So anything that seems, just if anything happens to me, just know I'm not doing any of that crazy stuff. I'm not, killing myself. My head's not even in that place. I don't do drugs, so I'm certainly not having a drug overdose. And if it's any other strange, funky thing, that's not me. It's because you start speaking out on them. So anyway, I'm going to end it here because that's all I'm allowed to say right now. I have a lot more to say, but God hasn't released me to say it all. But I just wanted y'all to see, this is very real. And this is what the last over a year of my life has looked like since starting to expose these people and direct family members. And keep me in prayer because the attacks are real. And you know, I'm not in fear or any of that. And I don't like to give the enemy, you know, more power than he deserves. But the reality is when you start to expose people because you are that directly connected with them, you best believe when you have a great uncle who was speaking at a 32-degree level Mason in the main Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C., and you best believe they know where I am. They know what I'm doing. They're watching my stuff. And so just keep me in prayer. That's all. All right, y'all. I will talk to you soon. Bye.